One of the more confusing things in HighLevel is how to trigger a workflow automation after somebody's subscription cancels to one of your products. On the surface, it seems super obvious, right? Wouldn't you use certain triggers? But I'm going to show you why those triggers actually don't work, and that's by design. And I'm going to show you a workaround so that you can trigger an automation after a subscription has canceled and it's reached the end of the billing date rather than canceling right away or simply not working at all. It's fairly simple to do, but there are a couple of preparatory steps we need to make first. And the first one is to go under settings, and we're going to go into custom fields, and we're going to create a custom field that's going to be a date field, and it's going to be labeled essentially end of billing date, end of subscription. You can call it whatever you want. All that matters is that you can find it later. And if you have multiple subscriptions, you're going to need to make one of these for each of your subscription products, unless for some reason your subscriptions are all tied to the same date or you have some custom setup. If you do, feel free to leave a comment and I might be able to point you in the right direction. But we're going to choose the date picker here. We're going to hit next. The field name, I'm just going to put end of sub billing term. That's how I'll find it later. You can put it in whatever section you want. I guess you have to choose a group. We'll just put it under contact. You can, again, make other groups and put it in there if you'd like. Now we're going to go into our automations and we're going to create a workflow. We'll start from scratch. You can call the workflow whatever you want. I'll just call mine end of billing workflow. Again, call it whatever you want based on your subscription and what you want to have happen when a subscription ends. Maybe it's remove them from a community group. Maybe it's revoke a course, whatever it might be. So our trigger, let me walk you through this real quick. So normally you might be thinking it would be the subscription trigger, and then you would say I'd filter it by the particular product. Maybe that is my, let's just say my community, and the status of the subscription is, and here's where most people make the mistakes. They think they would choose canceled, right? My subscription's been canceled, but this will fire the workflow immediately after they cancel it. Now, the other one people incorrectly select is expired. And I even personally used to think this was the correct way because it just so happened that it worked in a few of my workflows. But the expired filter actually only fires if a subscription ends because of anything other than a cancellation. This is honestly ridiculous. I think expired should be the subscription has expired, it has ended. I honestly think they should put something in here about end of billing term, but there really isn't one. Now, this might change in the future. It might change soon. If it does, I'll post something in the pinned comment in this video. But as of right now, there are no filters that will fire at the end of the billing cycle after a subscription is canceled. So you can't build your automation this way. So instead, what we're going to do is we are going to choose that it has been canceled. However, we're going to utilize that custom field in order to inform the workflow when the subscription has actually reached the end of its billing term. Now, to do that, we're actually going to create another automation first. We're going to create a workflow from scratch, and this one is going to update that custom field. So we're going to call this the billing date updater for whatever subscription. So you can do one of these per product. And our trigger for this is going to be that a payment is received. And every time we receive a payment, this workflow will trigger for the particular product. So let's say that our product is our community, and every time a payment is received for that community and the payment status is successful, we are going to trigger this workflow. And what's the workflow going to do? It's actually going to update the custom field. Now, after a payment is successfully received, we need to update that custom field with the new end of their billing date. And if this is a monthly subscription, we need to move that billing date out a month. If it's yearly, move it out a year, and so on. So to update that custom field, we're going to use a math operation. And our math operation is going to be calculated on a field. And that field is going to be the custom field that we just made, end of sub billing term. That's what I called mine. And our operator will be that we are going to add time to the field, and we're going to add 1 month. You can add days, months, and years, and then based on your subscription terms, you could do the calculation on your own there. Now, what are we going to update? We're going to update the same field. So we're going to take our current end of billing term, and we're going to add a month to it. So now we're going to create that workflow that we were originally thinking about doing with our subscription trigger. So we'll come back in and we'll say a subscription has been canceled for a particular product. So we'll just say that the product is our community and the status is canceled. Now we need to set an event, and that event is going to be whatever that billing period is. So we'll type in event, and we'll say set event start date. And the event start date will be the custom field, and the custom field will be the end of billing subterm, is what we called it. We'll hit save there. So now we're telling the workflow, this is the date of an event, and that event is the end of our billing term. So now we're going to add an action to wait, and we're going to say wait until our event, and the exact time is going to be the exact time of our event. And we'll just say move to next step. If the time of this wait is already in the past, we'll just say save action. So now our workflow will trigger when a subscription is canceled. It will set the event in this workflow to be whatever the billing date is, a month, a year in advance, and then we will wait until that event date is reached. Now from here, we can trigger revoking access. So we can choose to revoke group access or channel access or course access to the community, the group, the course, whatever it might be that we want to revoke them from. And here's where we can also add in things like sending an email and let the people know that their subscription has been canceled or they've lost access to something. Or we could send an email at a particular time, and we could say, send it a week before the subscription expires. You can adjust the wait times however you want utilizing this workflow. So now that we have our billing date and reached workflow, we can go back and we can go to our billing date updater, and we can say, well, what happens if they resubscribed after they canceled? Someone goes into their account, they cancel their subscription saying, my subscription renews in a year from now. I'm going to cancel it now so that I don't forget. But then maybe 6 months later, they decide, you know what? I want to resubscribe. I want to rejoin in. So you can add in the action here to remove them from the previous workflow that was going to essentially remove their access. So we can say remove from a workflow, remove from another workflow, and it's not this one. It's going to be our billing date end reached. That was what we called that other workflow. We'll hit save action. And now if we end up receiving a payment from that person, we'll just remove them from that workflow. And so they may have canceled, but we received a payment. So it just pulls them out of the workflow and it doesn't proceed with canceling them. Now, as it stands here, this automation has worked. I've run tests on it and it has worked. It has updated the field from being empty to having today's state. But part of me is skeptical that for some reason might not work in the future. So just to be extra safe on this, if you receive a payment for the subscription, you can set the custom field. So we'll say update contact, update the contact field. We'll choose the field here. It's going to be our custom field. I believe it's called end of sub billing term, and we'll just set it to the current date and hit save. And now we've kind of doubly made sure that if we receive a payment for a subscription, it updates that field to today, removes them from the workflow that might have canceled them, and then adds the time to today's field of whatever our billing term was, a month, a year, etc. And now just one final look at our previous automation here. The way that this one works, we don't need to make any changes. The subscription is canceled. What happens? It fires immediately. It sets an event in this workflow to wait until the end of the billing term, and then it revokes their access. And we already covered our bases. If they've resubscribed, it just pulls them out of this workflow. So that can be a little bit confusing. I know there's like some extra steps in there, but if you just follow the end result of those automations, you can create a workflow that will fire at the end of the billing term rather than firing immediately or just not firing at all because you selected a filter that doesn't work. Now, I've contacted support. I've actually spent a couple of hours talking and working on Zoom calls with support. I even spent time on support calls where they had no idea how to do any of this, and they told me it wasn't possible. But clearly it's possible. I just showed you how to do it. But that was because I figured it out myself. Now, I've told them there's a workaround for this, and I've told them that it would probably be nice for them to add a trigger on a subscription that fires at the end of the billing term. So they might do that. I know the tier 2 support that I spoke with said that they'd pass it along. So hopefully this is something that we get in the future. If so, it might render this workflow that I've just shown you obsolete, although this workflow does give you the ability to send emails to somebody based on the time until their subscription expires. So, for example, if somebody does cancel their subscription, you can use this method to set certain emails that fire a month before it ends, 2 weeks before it ends, 2 days before it ends, and kind of like reactivate that user to bring them back into active status and then pull them out of that workflow, I think there would still be application for this workflow, even if they do update the subscription trigger, like I really think they should. So hopefully this all makes sense to you. If you have any questions or particular use cases, feel free to leave a comment down below. And if you're looking for additional videos on HighLevel, particularly related to workflows, I definitely recommend you check out this video, and I'll put my playlist for HighLevel videos over here.